the word that comes to mind of wisdom or caution is respect. One thing that I have come to learn through experience is that, especially for people who are engaged in social justice ministry and engagement, I think too many people who are young, or if not young, recently engaging ministry in the church, it's easy to not respect what has been happening for 100 years or 200 years, and just assume these people don't know what they're doing, they're not engaged in the real world, and this is nonsense. I'm coming in with what's needed to be done here. And we have to respect what people have been doing. My father and mother did not articulate and understand theology the way I understand it. But there was something powerful in what they transmitted to me. I wish I had the capability of transmitting my faith to my children. I don't even know how to do it. But they were able to do it. So they had wisdom and knowledge and understanding that I don't. Now, were there things that I disagreed with that church I grew up? Many things. But there was something there that was foundational. And so, although we have to engage the church and help it move forward, I guess, I would caution people to respect the people there. And if you do so, then you could work with them. I'll just give one quick example. There was the student, with the theology of atonement. There's this issue about that, God the Father, by sending Jesus to the cross, committed child abuse. Maybe there's some sense to that, and it makes sense, and this is logical in some ways. But there was a seminarian who had been ordained at a congregation, and that was his first sermon, and he called God the abuser. You could imagine what happened after that. In the excitement of trying to bring something new, you disrespect people around you. So I would caution and say, keep respect of people in the back of your head whenever you're doing ministry.
I would agree with the aspect of the idea of respecting the people in the church. I also would think that it's important to be clear about your love for the people. One of my favorite teachers was in, I think, the second stage of Alzheimer's. I don't know all the different stages. And I went to her, as I always did every time I went home for Christmas. And we were having our conversation, and it was clear that she was a little confused on who I was. And then I asked her to give me just a word of encouragement, because I was a young teacher, fledgling, and I was dealing with students that had never had an African American woman as their professor, and I needed a word of encouragement so I could stay in there. And she came from some deep place with clarity of voice and sharpness of mind, said, "Evelyn, you've got to love them. You've got to love them regardless." She said, "It was many times you all would make me so mad. I would maul your heads. You would make me so angry, but I never stopped loving you." And I just floated out the door on those words. And it stayed with me, not only in my teaching, but I think it transcends all of things that I do, including the way I go about ministry. And it's my word of wisdom, if you will, from a wise woman who's now my saint, that you must love people deeply, even when it's hard to love them. And what people in churches know when you love them, when you really love them. And they will go with you almost anywhere if they know you love them. And if you love them, you will go with them almost anywhere. It's a mutual type of thing, it's a reciprocated type of love. So, love. genuine, deep down care for members of a congregation, I think, is essential. And in that, when that love between the two entities meet, there's lots of creative energy that the Spirit can work with.
I would say the commitment, in my case, I totally agree with the love piece, but I'm going to call it commitment to love, because there's been occasions when it's been difficult to love some people, and I just want to give an example of how I committed to love, or at least rejected the possibility of acting in any way that would dehumanize an individual, even though it was difficult to love them. The church that I serve now was historically a Norwegian congregation, and I'm the first senior pastor there that's non-Norwegian. And there was such anger and even hatred, I would say, from some of the Norwegian population, not all, of the possibility of Sam Cruz becoming the senior pastor. And they did some very ugly things, not all, but a good number of them. In fact, I've never have experienced such racism outright visible in my face as I did in this place. Well, I became senior pastor, and the majority of the people there are not Norwegians. And the Norwegians were there. And now I had to make a decision, because there were some people who wanted retaliation. And I decided that if we retaliated in any way, we were as horrible and disgusting as the behavior that they had exhibited. So I committed to loving them. And it wasn't easy with some of them, but I had a commitment to that. And I think there's been some transformations.
You just named that song. The road gets rough, the going gets tough, the hills are hard to climb. I decided a long time ago, I made up my mind a long time ago, that there's no doubt in my mind. I've decided to make Jesus my choice. Is a song that I grew up with. I heard it on Sunday. Hadn't heard it in a long time, but it was one of the first songs I learned how to play on the piano in a land far away in a time long, long ago. Those songs of hope and the songs that that remind me of God's presence, even in the midst of darkness, are very important for me. God's eye is on the sparrow, and I know God's watching. You named it for me. It's songs that can help me get through a difficult time. Songs that came out of my experience of being in the church. Songs that I've heard congregations sing, hymns. They are reminders of the Spirit's presence in the midst of a difficult situation.
I think of songs also that people sang when I was growing up. They were coritos, short choruses. And I didn't understand the feeling behind that people had behind the songs they were singing, because I was too young. And now, as an older person and as a pastor, there are times that we go sing some of those songs in our congregations from the past, and I kind of get the gist of what people were feeling. And they're encouraging to me, because they're encouraging also to the congregation. There's one that's in Spanish. It says, batalla no es batalla si no viene la prueba, y con Jesús yo iré. It says, a battle is not a battle if you don't have challenges, but with Jesus I would move forward. And I get comforted by those songs now, more so because I remember my father singing that, and I said to myself, I understand why he needed this, besides many other things. He had 11 children in a racist society, trying to maintain a good marriage, which he was lucky to have, and maintain the children in place. That's a battle. and with everything else that surrounds you, your job and all the other things that afflict people of color in the society. So when I'm going through those rough periods, I go back to some of those songs that we used to sing, and I get energized.
Yes.